Part 138. Holy Dragon Totem. Author, Fengqing Yang. Chapter 1373. After this, no one entered Zhang Zizai's evolutionary world. They didn't want to escape, they just wanted to stay here and fight with the immortal venerable for dignity, hatred, and the meaning of life. Fight. Fight. The thoughts of all living beings are different, but each one is so passionate. It can be said that almost every different person has brought a huge shock to Zhang Zizai. This is their determination to protect their homeland and themselves. They did not escape. They all chose to fight to the death at this moment. It's admirable. Zhang Zizai likes this place a little bit. The people here are not as arrogant as the Supreme Dragon clan. They are not so self-righteous. They cherish life and strive for self-improvement. They like to live in harmony. They have unyielding beliefs. Why can't they survive? However, the Zilong Tower is still ruthless. Those gods are now in the Zilong Tower. They are high above, with silent expressions, and they sacrifice blood to refine the Zilong Tower to enhance the power of the Zilong Tower. They exhaust the power of all gods and watch the living beings die one by one. For them, this is just a change in numbers. What they want is that from today on, the entire Chaos Demon realm will become history. Only in this way can they rest easy and their dignity and superiority will not be challenged. Under the blessing of the heavenly intention Ten formation of all living beings, the immortal venerable gathered the power of all living beings. She, Zhang Yi, the nether demon and others have already rushed into the sky. In fact, only she and Zhang Yi can really fight against the ancestral dragon tower. Others are just going up to die. Zhang Zizai's confrontation at this time may not be effective at all. The hope of all living beings in the entire Chaos Demon realm is now on the immortal venerable and Zhang Yi, and also on themselves under hatred. A little spark may be small, but when the power of all living beings is gathered together and blessed on the immortal venerable with unyielding faith, it is equivalent to them fighting for themselves. They no longer come into the evolution realm, and Zhang Zizai's mission is over. The death of those children has made him completely separate from the people of the Chaos Demon realm at this time. All of this was forced by the gods of the Supreme Dragon clan. I wonder if the Bright Dragon Lord is still alive, would he still be happy to see this scene? Now, when the Immortal Lord and Zhang Yi rushed to the ancestral Dragon Tower, it looked a bit like a moth flying into a flame. The eyes of all living beings are focused on them. The hope of life and death, the future of the Chaos Demon realm, may be at this moment. At that moment, she turned into a huge nine-tailed fox, which seemed to be the most beautiful creature between heaven and earth, snow-white and dreamy. The power of all living beings gathered on her body into stars, and each star carried the fighting spirit of everyone at this moment. Compared with her, even the white dragon next to her seemed a little dim at this time. In the heavenly intention Ten formation of all living beings, she can force back the 4 dragon emperors and many gods. At this time, she is naturally very powerful. With overwhelming hatred and anger, she has arrived under the ancestral dragon tower, and the battle is about to break out. Get lost. She almost attacked at the same time as Zhang Yi. Zhang Yi controlled the Azure Dragon Emperor sword, and the terrifying heavenly Dao power was directed directly at the ancestral dragon tower, tearing apart time and space, and flew away, surpassing eternity. She gathered the power of all living beings and condensed it on the nine-tailed fox. There was endless brilliance on the nine-tailed fox. In the dazzling light, the heavenly Dao power was like a galaxy, penetrating towards the ancestral dragon tower. Other gods also attacked, but they really couldn't be compared with the attacks of these two. There were also differences in levels between gods. Boom boom boom. When they attacked, the ancestral dragon tower was ready to go and had been ready to suppress it. The ancestral dragon tower directly shook out invisible ripples. That was the power of all the gods to attract the ancestral dragon tower. Wherever the invisible ripples went, the brilliance of the galaxy was repelled, and even the Azure Dragon Emperor sword was suppressed. After all, the Azure Dragon Emperor sword could not compare with this mysterious ancestral dragon tower. It can be seen that under the ancestral dragon tower, they were all struggling. Even with the heavenly intentions of all living beings and Zhang Yi, they were at a disadvantage from the beginning in the face of the terrifying suppression of the ancestral dragon tower. All living beings could not understand and thought there was still a chance to fight and kill, but Zhang Zizai saw it clearly. He dared not let it be the immortal venerable or Zhang Yi. Now they could only hold on under the suppression of the ancestral dragon tower. They could hold on, but the consumption of all living beings was huge, and the more they were suppressed by the ancestral dragon tower, once they could not hold on, it was equivalent to death in battle. In the future, the power of the heavenly intentions of all living beings was getting weaker and weaker. After the first person vomited blood, the atmosphere of despair began to cover the entire Chaos Demon realm. The ancestral dragon tower was high above and inviolable. Until now, even if the immortal venerable and Zhang Yi used all means, they still could not shake the ancestral dragon tower. No need to fight in vain, no need to resist. All the lives in this chaotic demon world today must leave this world. This is the territory of our supreme dragon clan. From now on, there will be no more chaotic demon world, and the name of the immortal lord on the ancestral dragon tower, the cold and ruthless voice of the dragon emperor shook the world. You are the greatest shame of this ancient clan and the greatest shame of our dragon clan in the future. Zhang Yi's voice was cold and echoed in the world. King Tianlong God, what qualifications do you have to claim to be a dragon? Who knows your origins? You are just created in the ancient realm, so don't pretend to be a disciple of the ancient god Qingyang. Today, you must die here. The voice of the demonic dragon emperor also echoed in the ancestral dragon tower. And you, immortal lord, I killed you last time and allowed you to be reincarnated. This time I am ready to suppress you in the ancestral dragon tower, personally crush your soul, and make you disappear in both form and body, and you will never be reincarnated. You sinner the demon realm of chaos, and because of your ignorance, you have to pay a heavy price. From now on in the dragon god realm, there will no longer be a demon realm of chaos, and there will no longer be people in the demon realm of chaos, only I, the supreme being, will. The dragon clan is unique in the world. They have made a cold-blooded decision. After killing to this extent, they will no longer show any mercy. They have experienced the power of Zilong Tower and have more faith and confidence. Death, the constant suppression caused the resentful immortal lord and Zhang Yi to retreat step by step. The other gods could not hold on. They had already been severely injured and fell to the ground, and they could only wait to die. Under the suppression of Zilong Pagoda, no one can escape from the scope of the Chaos Demon realm, not even the gods. They are trying to catch a turtle in a jar. At this moment, everything is under their control, so they can already hear they laughed inside the Zilong Tower. Holy Dragon Totem. Author, Feng Qingyang. Chapter 1374. Nowadays, the sentient beings in the chaos demonic realm do not need to know whether the immortal lord is victorious at all. They know it from the condition of their own bodies. Even if they are full of hatred and fighting spirit, when they themselves are suppressed by the ancestral dragon tower, they will not know it at all. Not much power can reach the 9 immortals. Once the 9 immortals become weaker and weaker, the time for the destruction of the chaos demon realm will become closer and closer. The desperate silence, after seeing that Zhu Xian and Zhang Yi could not get close to the ancestral dragon tower. Once they got close, they were immediately suppressed and even retreated. Such a desperate atmosphere has made many people see the desperate situation of the chaos demon realm. I saw corpses strewn across the land, and I saw the supreme dragon lord burning the land to ashes. No matter how much fighting spirit and belief there is, the arrival of death at this moment is still enough to make people bow down and collapse. This time, the supreme dragon clan finally made them feel terrible. Zhang Zizai, aren't you very capable and able to turn the tide? Don't hide behind the woman. Come up and let me learn how to write the word death, came the voice of the demon dragon emperor. Compared to Immortal Lord, Zhang Zizai is now their biggest concern, and this is also the reason why they finally decided to use the ancestral dragon pagoda. Therefore, he wanted to use provocation to trick Zhang Zizai out, so that he could catch them all in one fell swoop. Once these three people were dead, they would be able to sit back and relax in the future. Even Xianzun and Zhang Yi were suppressed at this time and were helpless. What could a small Zhang Zizai do? As I write this, I hope readers will remember our domain name Taiwan Novel Network rightward arrow. The god of death has come, harvesting lives one by one in the demon realm of chaos, and more people are dying due to suppression. When the blood is everywhere, the demon realm of chaos has lost hope. Looking at this scene, the bloodshot eyes of the immortal lord could only become redder, and she became even crazier, completely disregarding life and death in her attack. Instead, she gave the Zilong Tower a chance to suppress her again. Under the suppression of the Zilong Tower, at this moment, she has almost lost the support of all living beings, her body is stained with blood, and her hair is no longer white. All this seems to indicate that her legend has disappeared from now on. Zhang Zizai was right in front of her, looking at her beloved in such a mess and seeing her so hysterical. In fact, she didn't know when he started to go crazy like her. At this moment, he was more crazy than anyone else. Knowing her, everything she did was actually right. The so-called inner demons were just inner desires. She was not wrong from beginning to end. It was these arrogant and shameless people who were wrong. What's wrong with avenging yourself? I thought she was possessed by a demon, that was wrong. He has treated her too badly. Seeing that she is now scarred, but she still prefers death to surrender, and still grits her teeth to fight for all living beings and for dignity. If such a woman is not worthy of protecting and fighting for herself, between heaven and earth, who else could deserve it? The difference in strength and the terror of the Zilong Tower were no longer important to him. He only knew that if he didn't come up at this time and watch her let these people kill him again, then for the rest of his life, even if he was alive, then he is also a dead man. Jur, in fact, she has always been herself, how could she have any other personality? The 9 immortals that once passed away in a flash were just the appearance of her temporarily forgetting her hatred. She has always been so free and easy and lovely, but also so tough and powerful. Looking at her, Zhang Zizai's eyes were already red. Real power should allow you to do everything you desire. For example, now, I want to free her and return to the carefree and free her. He looked at the ancestral dragon pagoda. When everyone was afraid, he headed towards the ancestral dragon pagoda. In life, sometimes, even if it means death, there is no turning back, because behind him, there is someone who cares most about him. Important people, if you don't stand in front of them, who will protect them? He looked at the ancestral dragon tower. This was power and strength, self-righteous arrogance, and heart-rending ruthlessness. The power of heaven from all of them gathered in the ancestral dragon tower, acting recklessly and crushing everything. The way of heaven is the rule of heaven and earth. It is the rule followed by all things from the birth of heaven and earth to the present. It is birth and death, reincarnation. The power of heaven controls the development of the world and is the most supreme power. The power of heaven is controlled by the gods. They control the laws of heaven and earth. Becoming a god is the spirit of heaven. It represents the will of heaven and earth and controls all living beings. However, the gods control the laws, but they do not act for heaven. Instead, they are selfish and kill all living beings. That is contrary to the will of heaven, and it is ultimately the path of heaven. He is looking at the way of heaven for these people. His world of heaven has been opened. He has seen the essence of the power of heaven. What is the true avenue and what is the humble path? It is the same way of heaven, but there are endless differences in size. In her view, come on, even the current Shenlong Heavenly Emperor is practicing a small way. Even if he practices the great path, if he does humble things, it is just a small path. Now that they have crushed everything and are sure of victory, they can kill Zhang Zizai, Immortal Lord, and Zhang Yi, then massacre all living beings and go back to have a celebration banquet. It was the happiest time, but at this moment, Zhang Zizai's eyes had penetrated the Zilong Tower and saw their ugly appearance. Being unkind to the way of heaven, one will naturally be despised by the way of heaven. Whether it is the great way or the small way, wrong execution is self-destruction. Between heaven and earth, someone needs to review and truly execute the will of heaven and earth, regulate the way of heaven, and even rebuild the way of heaven. Only by destruction can it be rebuilt. Those wrong ways of heaven are destined to be destroyed, and only then can new laws of heaven and earth be born. At this moment, Zhang Zizai saw everything that others could not see. The God he wanted to achieve was destined to be a different God from others, because the direction he was heading at this moment was not the way of heaven, but the destruction of the way of heaven and the destruction of the laws. All ways of heaven come from the origin. Only destruction is opposite to the origin. The power of the way of heaven is the power of the origin of heaven and earth. Only by destroying the way of heaven can the origin be rebuilt. The power of destruction comes from the way of heaven, but transcends the way of heaven. In his mind, it has gradually become clear. Among the evil deeds of these people, he has gradually seen the direction that truly belongs to him. It is not the origin of the way of heaven, but the destruction of the way of heaven and the reconstruction of order. Only in this way can the will of heaven be better executed. It seemed that he saw his father's will, the flower of destruction, and the collapse of heaven and earth. All of this came from the flower of destruction, and the flower of destruction was to rebuild order, a better order of heaven and earth. At this moment, the black petals in the natal totem finally moved. It came out of the totem sea and moved to Zhang Zizai's source of destruction. When it touched the source of God, a huge change was born. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Holy Dragon Totem. Author, Fengqing Yang. Chapter 1375. The flower of destruction made Zhang Zizai's God source take it as the core, surrounded by the four God sources, and then in the process of fusion, change, and growth, the first trace of the power of destroying the way of heaven was born. The way of destroying the way of heaven, transcending all the ways of heaven, its existence is to suppress all the power of the way of heaven, which is why the source of destruction, above the source of heaven, will surpass the 9th level and be alone in the 10th level. That is not the 10th level, but the opposite of the source of heaven, the destruction of the source of heaven. Next, endless power of destroying the way of heaven is constantly born. His abyss of destruction is originally more than 4 times that of the 9th level of ordinary God King. Now the power of destroying the way of heaven is also terrifying. The endless power makes him undergo earth-shaking changes. At this moment, he starts a peerless transformation in the eyes of everyone's surprise. Boom boom boom. This scene was extremely terrifying. The space, time, and even all the power around him were exploding. That was the result of contact with the power of destroying the heavenly way. At this moment, Zhang Zizai, as long as his power of destroying the heavenly way swept over, it would be the nightmare of all heavenly ways. Those black powers were just like nightmares, sweeping around. He was like a star. Anyone who felt this power on him would be terrified at this moment, and even the power of the heavenly way was trembling. No one expected that he would suddenly change, suddenly become a god, and a completely different god, enough to make any god feel fear. Success, Zhang Yi was overjoyed. Others didn't understand what he meant by success, because this was the end point of his grandfather and father's plan, the success of the flower of destruction, and their lifelong efforts. He believed that at this time, No matter how far his father was, he could feel the birth of the power of destroying the heavenly way. He will be happy. Grandpa will be happy if he knows. He succeeded. Zhang Yi's face was full of excitement. He was not young anymore. He wanted to jump up and down at this moment, because he was the only one present who knew what this meant. That was definitely the life's work of his grandfather and father, the fate of their family, the hope of revival, and the hope of revenge. For this moment, they have endured humiliation for too long. His excitement was temporarily incomprehensible, because even if Zhang Zizai suddenly changed and seemed to have become a god, what role could such a guy who had just become a god have in front of the Zilong Tower? To be honest, the gods of the Supreme Dragon Clan were indeed a little scared. They had never seen such a god, nor had they felt such a dreadful way of heaven. What kind of way of heaven was this? They didn't know. They were going to crush Zhang Zizai directly. Because of curiosity, they stopped for a while. Became a god. Fortunately, we came in time today, otherwise it would be even more troublesome if we delayed time. He is indeed terrible, but unfortunately he met us decisively. Now there is still a chance, but today it is impossible to let them leave alive. It's a bit funny. He just became a god and got the chance of immortality, but he is about to die. Haha. Everyone, stop talking nonsense. Just activate the Zilong Tower and kill him immediately to eliminate future troubles. He is more terrible than the Immortal Lord, Shen Longtiandi scolded seriously. In fact, he felt threatened, and this threat made him a little worried. The only way to solve this worry is to kill immediately. Die. At this moment, Zhang Zizai just succeeded and the power of destroying the way of heaven had not been completely sorted out. Zilong Tower suppressed him head-on. The terrifying power was like billions of mountains pressing down, enough to crush any god. Bang! Someone blocked it for Zhang Zizai. He opened his eyes at this moment and saw her bleeding again. Even her eyes dimmed a little. The snow-white hair on her body was now covered with blood. She looked back at him. What made Zhang Zizai tremble was that he saw her love and affection for him. At this time, she was so beautiful that it was suffocating. She was so beautiful that Zhang Zizai felt that even if he died here today, his life would be brilliant. It has been a long time since I saw her eyes so affectionate. She is the Immortal Lord and the 9 Immortals. In the face of life and death, she seems to be relieved. If there is no way, let's live and die together, okay, she said with a smile, but there were tears in her eyes. She has seen Zhang Zizai's loyalty to death and his efforts. At this hopeless moment, she got the greatest comfort. She was a little tired, turned into a human form, and stood in front of Zhang Zizai. Under the strong wind in the sky, her snow-white dress fluttered in the wind, her long hair was like waves, and her smile was so beautiful, just like when Zhang Zizai saw her for the first time, so dreamy and so suffocating. She was the most beautiful elf between heaven and earth, and the eternity in Zhang Zizai's heart at this moment. He stretched out his hand with a little trembling, wanting to hug her and comfort her, but the gods of the Supreme Dragon Clan did not allow it. They controlled the Zilong Tower and came again. Just now, she blocked it for herself, and now it was Zhang Zizai's turn. At that moment, he suddenly rushed towards her. When she thought it was the last hug, Zhang Zizai threw her down, and he rushed up like an eternal warrior in this staggered, rushing towards the Zilong Tower. She fell in the wind and saw him rushing towards the sky like a meteor, vowing to die without regrets. This scene had been imagined before and appeared on Sky Island, but she didn't expect that he still did it under the Zilong Tower. Fearless of life and death. Zhang Yi seemed indifferent to all this. Only Zhang Zizai rushed towards the Zilong Tower, like a moth to a flame. Kill him, the Dragon Emperor shouted wildly in the Zilong Tower. Kill him! Kill him! Kill! Facing Zhang Zizai's eyes at this moment, they admitted that they were a little panicked at this moment. Only by gathering the power of the Zilong Tower again, they would feel safe and become fierce again. Die. The word die echoed the world. The Zilong Tower suppressed again, with an unstoppable force. The mountains of the entire Chaos Demon realm collapsed at this moment, and Zhang Zizai was the first to bear the brunt of it. Zilong Tower. Zhang Zizai raised his head and saw the Zilong Tower in front of him. His heavenly soul was trembling. The gods of the Zilong Tower, the top three, were all in her heavenly soul. They only controlled the Zilong Tower, but could not awaken the gods of the Zilong Tower. At this moment, Zhang Zizai's heavenly soul awakened them. In an instant, the blood-red dragon shadow that once allowed Yanner to condense the heavenly soul appeared, and all the remaining illusory dragons broke out of the tower and merged into Zhang Zizai's heavenly soul. At this moment, his heavenly soul was extremely powerful. At this moment, the ancestral dragon tower, that was his ancestral dragon tower. Holy Dragon Totem. Author, Fengqing Yang. Chapter 1376. When Xuanhuan said this, he was actually very confident. He was confident in his appearance, strength, and status, which looked much better than Zhang Zizai and the other three. And in his words, he made enough promises to Long Yan, and many people may be moved. After all, who wouldn't want to become a super genius of the Bright Dragon clan overnight? Hua Zhongyuan didn't understand what kind of person she was at all. He said so much, but it was only boring to her. She gently pulled Zhang Zizai's arm, without making eye contact with Hua Zhongyuan, and said, "Please leave." "Well, I won't go with you. I'm not interested in anything you say." Her eviction order was very decisive. Taiwan Novel Network Rightward Arrow. Hua Zhongyuan was obviously a little unhappy. He was silent for a while and then asked, "Girl, is this person secretly coercing you? If so, you only need to tell me and I can save you. To be honest, you are destined sooner or later, there will be an infinite gap between those who want to be successful. Being with them will only lower your horizons. If you let your talents go to waste and do nothing, it is simply a waste of resources." At this point, Zhang Zizai became a little impatient. He said, "Can you stop being so exaggerated with your imagination? To be honest, no matter what we do, it's our own business. You go your way, and we go our own way, that's fine. No matter how talented she is, we can just contact by Mu, and we don't need you. Can we believe you when you say you have a good relationship with him? Don't think too much, we are just on the safe side. So please don't harass us." At this time, he just used Bai Mu as a shield. In fact, no matter how nice Hua Zhongyuan said it, you can still hear that he despises Zhang Zizai and the three of them in his heart. He thinks that Long Yan should be divorced from them because of his talent, otherwise it will be like being tainted, and there are no other ideas, such as cultivating a relationship with Long Yan before recommending her. In fact, it is not difficult to see. That's why he tried every means, otherwise if he was really worried about something happening to such a talented girl, he could just follow her the whole time without taking her away. Sure enough, when Zhang Zizai said what Bai Mu said, the guy was a little angry and couldn't control himself. He said, "You are a bit disrespectful of me when you talk like this. You know, she was immortal before, and it is impossible for a mortal to be if you are allowed to enter the tomb of the Bright Dragon, you bring a mortal in without permission. This is also a serious crime. It can range from imprisonment for more than 100 years to being beheaded on the spot. If this girl is not so talented, you will not be able to do it. There is absolutely one idea. If you let me defend her and make up reasons for her, you can survive this disaster. Otherwise, if others see it, you will be finished. Brother Hua won't leak it anyway, right? You are such an upright gentleman, you will definitely not do such a villainous thing," Zhang Zizai said. He knew that the other party meant a threat. Hua Zhonyuan could see that Long Yan seemed to be completely submissive to Zhang Zizai, which gave him a very bad feeling. If there was any relationship between such a treasure-like girl and a country bumpkin like Zhang Zizai in his eyes, it would be a waste of natural resources for him. But Long Yan's way of following him like a little woman showed all this invisibly. Actually, the bright dragon tomb is so huge, it will be difficult for you to find Baimu again. Girl, you have no identity, and following them will only hurt them. I can protect you, and you will soon become the focus of millions of people's attention. Don't you really think about it? Your talent is so good that you should have a better destiny. Some people are destined to become passers-by to each other because they are in different worlds. You will understand this truth, Hua Zhonyuandeo. This person speaks with sarcasm, which is really annoying. Zhang Zizai sneered. He didn't have a very good temper. Since the other party had evil intentions, such a person would never give up. Blindly giving in would only make him think that he could suppress him. In this case, there seemed to be no need to be polite. He stretched out his hand, gently hugged Long Yan's slender waist, let her lean into his arms, and then said to Hua Zhonyuan, "Brother Hua, don't talk like this. Our relationship is as strong as gold. It won't happen." I was shaken by your sweet words. Over the years, we have experienced life and death, and seen all kinds of storms. For us, there are some things that are more important than the temptations you said. Unfortunately, you don't seem to understand. Long Yan made Zhang Zizai a little confused. Of course she knew that the other party must have some plot against her. Zhang Zizai was trying to make him give up. It was almost impossible for him to leave obediently after provoking such a person. Trouble has already come, and it is obvious that he cannot just give in. Zhang Zizai is not a person who is afraid of trouble, and neither is she. She didn't say anything, she just held his arm and leaned against him gently. The hostile look on her face towards Hua Zhonyuan said everything. It seems that she is still a little girl who is ignorant of the world. In fact, she knew it very well. In fact, she is very similar to Suyuexi, except that Suyuexi will speak out boldly, but she will not. She may never say it out loud in her life, but her heart will never change. Especially after leaving the Evernight Star Sea. Their unceremonious counterattack made Hua's Hongyuan's face completely darken. Brother Hua, we all know what you are thinking, so there is really no need to say too much, it is meaningless, Sukinyu said. He is a straight-tempered person and dislikes beating around the bush, so he will not shut up when encountering injustice. Who are you? You, the dragon servant, have the right to speak. Hua's Hongyuan's aura suddenly became cold and stern, and he looked at Sukinyu coldly. Everyone in this world has a voice. Unless you can tear my mouth apart. At least I don't speak in a sinister and eccentric way like you. I just want to rob, so there is no need to make myself great, Sukinyu said disdainfully. He couldn't stand it anyway. You are looking for death. I killed a dragon attendant in the bright dragon tomb, but no one would care, Hua Zhonyuan said in a low voice. Sukinyu sneered. He didn't want to say more. After thinking about it for a while, he seemed to have gotten Zhang Zizai into trouble because of his quick words. However, he couldn't help it and spat on the ground with that contemptuous look in his eyes. Directly penetrated Hua's Hongyuan's eyes. Holy Dragon Totem. Author, Feng Qing Yang. Chapter 1377. Fighting has already begun on other battlefields. Zhang Yi directly faced the two dragon emperors, while Xianzun fought with the immortal dragon emperor. The Shenlong emperor fully knew that the breakthrough point was in his own body. He couldn't help but laugh and said, "You are swollen, and you have just become a god. There is only one way to heaven, and it can only be regarded as the Tai Chi God realm. Do you know how big the gap is between the Tai Su God realm, the second level of the gods, and your Tai Chi God realm? In the realm of gods, every time you advance to one level, you must remaster a heavenly way. The first level is the Taiji heavenly realm, and the second level is the Taisu heavenly realm. It seems that it is easy to add one more heavenly way, but it is not, because mastering one more heavenly way is equal to become a god again. You need to go through the process of cultivation from scratch to achieve a breakthrough. The 4 dragon emperors, the immortal lord, and the 3 demon emperors are all people with 2 ways of heaven. They have all become gods twice. The difference between 2 heavenly ways and 1 heavenly way is very big. One god controls 2 heavenly ways. Facing 2 opponents who each control 1 heavenly way, it is not a concept at all. The reason why Zhang Yi is powerful is because he is in the Taishi heavenly god realm. He has mastered the 3 heavenly ways. If he had not been suppressed by the ancestral dragon pagoda just now, the 4 dragon emperors would not be able to do anything to him together. He is the one that the 4 dragon emperors fear the most. Existence. Not Zhang Zizai, who had just become a god and had only 1 way to heaven. The gap is huge, but it doesn't affect my taking your head. Zhang Zizai only responded to him with this sentence. Then in the next moment, his body was split into 4, and he now had overwhelming anger and fighting spirit. He didn't want to talk nonsense with the Dragon Emperor, because the other 2 were already fighting bloody battles. For many years, he had never fought side by side with the 9 immortals. This time, he wanted to prove himself the most. He regretted that he could not help her before, but now he finally has such an opportunity. He has been waiting for this moment for too long. He hesitated to agree to her question before, but at this moment, Zhang Zizai wanted to complete it directly. All living beings, souls, universe, and years. The bodies of the 4 gods surround the opponent and destroy the power of heaven. In fact, they are 4 times more powerful in number than other gods in the Tai Chi realm. With this alone, the Shenlong Heavenly Emperor was equivalent to facing 4 gods. Unfortunately, he thought he had found a breakthrough. The Divine Dragon Emperor has 2 kinds of heaven, one of which is the Golden Heaven. The golden metal between heaven and earth is all under his control. At this moment, his divine body is also shining with golden light and is indestructible. The second one is Overlord Tiandao, which can also withstand huge damage for him. The divine body of Shenlong Tiandi is protected by 2 kinds of heavenly powers. It is almost the most powerful divine body among the 49 divine realms. With the terrifying divine body and the 2 heavenly artifacts of the Holy Golden Dragon Ancestral Spear and the Eternal Heavenly Shield, it can be said that there are very few people in the entire 49 divine realms who can defeat the Divine Dragon Emperor. But Zhang Zizai possesses the power to destroy the way of heaven. It is the power to destroy the way of heaven. This is not a way of heaven, but a force that is opposed to the way of heaven. This is the power that comes from the flower of destruction and can completely destroy all the way of heaven. And all this, Shenlong the Emperor of Heaven knew nothing. When he attacked with the sacred golden dragon ancestral spear and protected his body with the eternal heavenly shield, trying to control Zhang Zizai first, Zhang Zizai's 4 origin holy dragons suddenly launched an attack. All of his divine weapons are much more numerous than those of his opponent. They explode directly and are controlled by 4 divine bodies. Whether it is control or explosion, they are all in place directly. Here, the most important thing is the Zilong Tower. He could control the ancestral dragon pagoda. At this moment, the ancestral dragon pagoda was suppressing directly on the head of the Divine Dragon Emperor. At this time, he could clearly feel what it was like to be suppressed by the ancestral dragon pagoda. It was a feeling of being unable to raise his head at all, his neck was almost broken, and his whole body was almost paralyzed. Even if he had 2 kinds of heavenly power to protect his body, it was not particularly effective. At this time, Zhang Zizai's most terrifying celestial soul erupted first, starting with the Chaos Soul Clock, then the Huan Tian Eye and the Soul Captivating Mirror, followed by the Soul Eating Sword. The Holy Dragon of Soul Origin controlled these celestial divine artifacts, and exploded one after another, and the suppression of the ancestral dragon tower together is enough to make the Shenlong Heavenly Emperor unable to perform anything in two aspects, which is directly equivalent to paralysis. But the Dragon Emperor was not afraid. He had expected that Zhang Zizai would be a bit difficult to deal with. He was very confident in his power of heaven. It was impossible to break the golden heaven and the domineering heaven. He was equivalent to having a true immortal body. At this time, the Qinqin Cauldron and the Clock of Rebellion had already exerted another degree of control, making him unable to move at all and could only be beaten. Zhang Zizai's control methods were so rich that all suppressive controls could no longer be suppressed. It's for the ultimate explosion at this moment. Die. His four divine bodies all possess the power to destroy heaven. A word of death will shine through the past and present. It's all in vain, I can't be beaten to death. The confident voice of the divine dragon emperor still echoed between heaven and earth. Then, people saw Zhang Zizai's four bodies suddenly coming together. He held the six-rayed thunder pillar with both hands. At this moment, he suddenly appeared in front of the Shenlong Heavenly Emperor and smashed it down on his head. All the destructive power of heaven gathered in these six-rayed pillars. On top of the attack of the Lei Yan Divine Pillar, coupled with the terrifying suppression of the ancestral Dragon Tower, the most powerful attack in the ages was unleashed. The Shenlong Heavenly Emperor did not take it seriously, and used the power of two kinds of heaven, instilled in the eternal heaven shield, to stand in front of Zhang Zizai. He was good at defense in both kinds of heaven, and he never worried about the opponent's attack. Especially when the other party has only one path to heaven. But he never expected that the power of destroying the heavenly Dao would be such a force. Everything he had seemed to have met its nemesis. In that terrifying collision, under the bombardment of the six thunder flame pillars, people clearly saw that the eternal heavenly Dao shield suddenly exploded, shattered directly, and exploded into pieces. The huge roar made the world tremble. The entire sacrifice dragon divine domain trembled because of the explosion of the heavenly artifact. This is the first stick. This stick, this destructive power, has broken the imagination of the Dragon Emperor. At that moment, his time seemed to stand still. He stared at this incredible thing in a daze. It was like a dream. He completely believed that this was an illusion created by Zhang Zizai to make him feel scared. In fact, he did not break the heavenly artifact at all. He did not have such power at all. Are you still trying to deceive me with illusions? He could not help laughing. While he was laughing, Zhang Zizai's second stick had exploded. This stick went through the sky and the earth, making the entire world's space and universe seem to be wailing. It was the destruction of everything. This was the power to destroy the way of heaven. When the opponent's power of heaven came again with the sacred golden dragon ancestor spear, Zhang Zizai's stick went through the sky and smashed it directly to pieces. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Holy Dragon Totem. Author, Fengqing Yang. Chapter 1378. Bump. This time, the sacred golden dragon ancestral spear flew out directly. Unfortunately, the Shenlong Heavenly Emperor still believed that this crushing power was an illusion. He was still undaunted in the face of danger, until Zhang Zizai's third stick hit him with lightning speed. On his forehead, at that moment, his divine body, divine source, and divine soul were suddenly torn apart under the violent force of this destructive force of heaven. Only the severe pain at this moment made him know that none of this was illusion, this is all that is real. His flesh and blood were torn apart, his soul was torn apart, and even the heavens were being torn apart, almost to pieces. At this moment, he had become a useless person. It all happened so fast that he was stunned and looked at Zhang Zizai blankly. This is impossible. No. No, his majestic screams and roars came to an abrupt end when Zhang Zizai's next stick fell. At that moment, whether it was the divine body, the divine soul, or the way of heaven, all at this moment, everything was destroyed and disappeared into smoke. The entire Shenlong Tiandi, which had lasted for millions of years, suddenly died at this moment and ceased to exist forever. The divine dragon emperor died on the spot. His words of "not" are still echoing in people's ears. No one could have imagined that the person who defeated him was a 30-year-old man. To the Shenlong emperor, this age was like a dust. In his last moments, he probably didn't even understand why such a monster appeared and why he made such a stupid decision today. There were so many reasons that he didn't even figure out, and then they ceased to exist. Revenge was taken. Even if it wasn't for him, she was his relative, so this could be regarded as revenge for himself. From this moment on, Zhang Zizai finally dared to raise his head and look at her, and he did it. The sinful way of heaven should be destroyed, slaughter all living beings, and destroy the rules of the world. Such a way of heaven should cease to exist. At this moment, all the living beings in the chaotic demon realm were still confused. The gods of the Supreme Dragon clan around them were also confused and trembling. Some people wanted to order the siege of Zhang Zizai, but under his look, they could only tremble. After becoming gods, they are actually more afraid of death, especially at this time. This is the beginning. From this moment on, the balance is completely broken. The 4 dragon emperors of the Supreme Dragon clan are in complete trouble at this moment. The death of the divine dragon heavenly emperor was a major event that shocked the entire 49 divine realms for thousands of years. However, today the big thing may be more than that. Not long after Zhang Zizai killed the dragon emperor, when he looked at the immortal lord, with the support of the power of all living beings, the immortal lord killed the dragon emperor on the spot with terrifying hatred. It might not be as spectacular as Zhang Zizai, she also consumed a lot of money, but she succeeded. The feeling of revenge was so refreshing that she longed for this moment in her dreams. At that time, she and Zhang Zizai looked at each other, and Zhang Zizai saw tears of relief in her eyes, but she was not completely freed yet, as there were 2 more hateful people. That is the Demon Dragon Emperor and the Demon Dragon Emperor. Their methods are sometimes more cruel. Zhang Yi took control of them, but did not kill them. After all, some people still wanted to take revenge personally. It was time to wake up from the nightmare of being surrounded and killed. She saw Zhang Zizai kill the Dragon Emperor for her. Although there were tears in his eyes, that knowing smile gave Zhang Zizai infinite strength. Their relief is not far away. She didn't say anything, and the same was true for Zhang Zizai, but at this moment, he almost had a tacit understanding and rushed towards the Demon Dragon Emperor and the Demon Dragon Emperor. Now they were laying siege. What are you still doing? Come and help. The Demon Dragon Heavenly Emperor saw the death of the 2 dragon emperors. How could he not tremble in his heart? With his identity, he didn't know what death was at all. He had already forgotten death. It felt like a million years, but now the fear emerged and almost swallowed them up. Only the 4 dragon emperors will be killed today. The other gods still have a chance to repent, but once they take action, they will definitely die. Just when the gods were hesitating in trembling, Zhang Zizai's words had completely stopped them from moving. They had already admitted defeat. They were already frightened by Zhang Zizai. They watched the ancestral dragon tower suppressing the Demon Dragon Emperor and the Demon Dragon Emperor. They watched the 3 of them attack together. All 3 of them killed them individually. Regardless of the ability of either one, when they are besieged, the 2 dragon emperors will only end in death. You are crazy. You dare to act like this. If we die, you will be eternal sinners. Whatever happens to the Supreme Dragon clan in the future, and the life and death of all living beings, are all your responsibility, the demonic dragon emperor roared in fear. For countless years, nothing like this has happened. All 4 dragon emperors died in battle? Who dares to think this way? But they have committed too many sins, and they have to pay the price. Don't worry, in the future, I will be at the helm of the Supreme Dragon Clan. No one in the 49 divine realms will dare to bully us. We will develop better. Zhang Zizai's words made them completely despair, because when he said this, when he spoke, all the other gods lowered their heads. They all surrendered, which meant that from now on, Zhang Zizai could completely sacrifice to the master of the dragon god realm. Moreover, he has the capital. What's more important is that this time it was the 4 dragon emperors who committed evil and destroyed all living beings in the chaotic demon realm. No matter where such behavior spreads, they deserve it. You will pay the price. Zhang Zizai, especially you. If you dare to do this, your ancestors from the place of origin will come to make you miserable. If you stop in time, there is still a possibility of survival. I'm sorry, I know the place of origin better than you. Zhang Zizai smiled. No matter how much they cried, they were completely unable to stop the power of the living beings of the immortal venerable, the power of Zhang Zizai's destruction of the heavenly Dao, and the crushing of Zhang Yi's 3 heavenly Daos. This time, Zhang Zizai directly destroyed the demon dragon emperor who screamed for mercy, and the immortal venerable, with the help of Zhang Yi, cut the demon dragon emperor into pieces. The 4 dragon emperors, from this moment on, disappeared. They were all dead. Everything was over. The war was over, and the world fell into a dead silence, as if their screams were still echoing between heaven and earth. The other gods of the Supreme Dragon Clan could not react to such a result. They stared at Zhang Zizai in a daze, staring at all this in a daze. I have recorded everything today with the image symbol. Everyone in the 49 divine realms can know the truth and see how the 4 dragon emperors are trapped in their own cocoons. Of course, you are also guilty of helping the tyrants. Zhang Zizai's voice echoed between heaven and earth. When he spoke, the others had already shut their mouths. All the gods lowered their heads, not daring to speak. Suddenly, King Mulongzun knelt down and said, "We are sinners, and we must atone our sins. From now on, we will follow the new Dragon Emperor and the Territory Lord." Holy Dragon Totem. Author, Fengqing Yang. Chapter 1379. When someone takes the lead, the others will know what to do. For a moment, all the gods surrendered. I hope that the Domain Master can control the future of the Supreme Dragon Clan. We have lost 4 Dragon Emperors, and there will always be people who will fish in troubled waters. I hope you can protect this world and this clan, the god said in tears. Since I have created this mess, I will naturally clean it up. The Supreme Dragon Clan is still the Supreme Dragon Clan, but I have the final say in everything in the future. As for you, you must serve the people of the clan to atone for your sins, Zhang Zizai said. In this way, the death of the 4 Dragon Emperors will make the Supreme Dragon Clan stronger, because this has become just a change of dynasty and a change of ruler, not the demise of a clan. How to make the people of the Supreme Dragon Clan not affected by the death of the 4 Dragon Emperors? Zhang Zizai knows that only by standing up and suppressing it with his own reputation can the status quo be maintained here. Thank you, Domain Master, the gods are already grateful. The Domain Master is the entire sacrifice dragon god domain, and Zhang Zizai is the master, including the Chaos Demon realm. Of course, when the Immortal Venerable lost his inner demons and Zhang Zizai controlled the Supreme Dragon Clan, the Supreme Dragon Clan and the Chaos Demon realm could live in harmony, which was equivalent to the Supreme Dragon Clan's biggest worry disappearing. Although the gods lost the 4 Dragon Emperors, they felt that there was a way out of the dark clouds. They were very lucky. Many of them had participated in it, but now the Immortal Venerable no longer needed to kill them all. Thank you for your mercy, Immortal Venerable. We know we were wrong. Today, we were really wrong. We have an obligation to let everyone in the Sacrifice Dragon God domain know everything that happened today, and let everyone know our crimes. It looks like a change of dynasty. It's over. From then on, everyone will help him take care of everything in the Supreme Dragon Clan and the Chaos Demon Realm. He only needs to calm the situation. Of course, for the Immortal Venerable, it was also a relief. It was a relaxing feeling, so relaxing that people just wanted to have a good sleep. The gods of the Supreme Dragon Clan now follow Zhang Zizai's will. The death of the 4 dragon emperors and everything that happened here need to be explained to the whole clan. They need to stabilize the Supreme Dragon Clan again. They only need to let all beings know everything recorded today. I believe that they will have an answer to what they feel about the new domain master, the new Dragon Emperor Zhang Zizai. At least Zhang Zizai's strength is qualified to be the master. This is something that has shocked the 49 divine realms. It can't be concealed. Before long, everything that happened here will spread all over the world. Zhang Zizai's reputation is different from when he was the first of the 49 sacrifices. From a person with a natural talent, at this moment, he has become a super strong man and a supreme existence in the 49 divine realms. Now it is a desperate situation, and there is a new village after the dark clouds. However, there are still some losses in the Chaos Demon realm. The death of some innocent people is still sad. Fortunately, everything is over. From now on, the people of the Chaos Demon realm can live a good life. People began to clean up. Zhang Zizai also opened the door to the evolution world, allowing those who had taken refuge there to come out, especially Lingling. When everything was back on track, Zhang Zizai stood opposite her in the ruins. Her long skirt fluttered, and her long hair was a little messy. Zhang Zizai stood in front of her and helped her tidy it up. She had a slight smile on her face, watching Zhang Zizai's actions. Today, I was like a superhero in a movie, saving the common people and saving me. How do you feel? She asked. It feels great, but I'm still not satisfied. In fact, in just one sentence, you can tell that she is the 9th immortal, and of course she is also the Immortal Venerable, because they are one and inseparable from beginning to end. Her previous serious expression has now disappeared. The one standing in front of her now is not the one who was affectionate with her, took care of her, and loved her. When the 4 dragon emperors died in battle, her 2 personalities had already merged into one. At this moment, she is sometimes gentle, sometimes playful, sometimes lazy like a cat, and sometimes passionate like a dog. She has infinite charm all over her body, which makes Zhang Zizai want to stick to her arms from now on, and let her passionate self be surrounded by her tenderness. How can I make you want more? Her eyebrows were slightly raised, and her pink tongue turned mischievously between her lips and teeth. It was so tempting and obvious, how could it not be hot? Of course, another battle, 10 days and 10 nights, Zhang Zizai said with fiery eyes. What about the battlefield? As long as you want to fight, where is not a battlefield? Zhang Zizai smiled evilly, stretched his waist and picked her up. It turned out that in front of him, her body was so soft. It seemed that she was more impatient than himself. After all, she had been patient for too long. So at that time, they disappeared. They were in the endless wilderness, next to a lake. It was like spring all year round and the scenery was picturesque. I actually brought Lingling here to play, she was so happy. Juxian smiled sweetly. I hope she won't come here by herself. Zhang Zizai was so angry that nothing could stop him at this moment. This was a real battle. He couldn't wait to tear everything apart, letting her smooth and white beauty be seen clearly. After not seeing her for many years, her assets were still so majestic, surging and rippling. Just looking at her made people explode. I want revenge too, Zhang Zizai said in a low voice, like a primitive beast. Revenge for the inflatable doll, she said with a delicate smile. Of course, you actually teased me like this, it's unreasonable, Zhang Zizai said angrily. He had already taken action, this is the real her. In fact, although it is not my real body, for me, the feeling is the same excitement, she said with a blushing face. Bullshit, now you know what the real excitement is. So, from then on, it was all indescribable intense fragments. For revenge, Zhang Zizai had been preparing for too long. So many tricks were enough to make her feel the real excitement. She was the 9 Immortals, and also the immortal venerable who was high above, and now surrounded herself with tenderness. Their love, in the peaks again and again, reached eternity. During the process, her eyes suddenly changed. Seeing Zhang Zizai actually riding on her, she was furious and said, "Zhang Zizai, you think you can do this to me just because you helped me get revenge?" "Shut up." Zhang Zizai held her mouth and continued to bombard her. This should be the last glimmer of her fierce personality. It will soon disappear. In fact, it is not disappearing. It is just that the two merged and let her be free. The angry Xianzun was powerless to resist. The cursing sound turned into a delicate gasp until this last glimmer was completely over. Then, she hugged Zhang Zizai and flew into the sky again. Holy Dragon Totem. Author, Fengqing Yang. Chapter 1380. Zhang Yi would naturally give him some time and not disturb this rare relaxing day. So Zhang Zizai was as happy as heaven, living in a gentle land every day, drunk and dreaming. If this was corrupt, he thought, let such corrupt days come more violently. The couple is so sneaky every day that even the bell is depressed and they can't be found. Little did they know that traces of their love had spread throughout the entire dragon sacrifice god realm, and their battlefields were everywhere. Under the same starlight, there is the same passion. Only a strong impact can resolve the longing for more than 10 years. The sound of snapping is endless. Of course Zhang Zizai knew the heavy responsibility he now shouldered, and he also had his own determination. It's just that Zhu Xian naturally needs to make up for the loss. If he can, he will certainly not be willing to leave her gentle and soft embrace. Actually, I can accompany you. It's the place of origin, and I might be able to help. Otherwise, I wouldn't worry if you were allowed to take the risk alone. She leaned against a big tree, held Zhang Zizai's head under the moonlight, and whispered in his ear. Is that okay? I'm afraid you'll get hurt. After all, this trip shouldn't be easy, Zhang Zizai said. Of course. If something happens to you, I don't want to be alive, she smiled softly. Where's the bell? Take it with you to prevent her from acting recklessly, let her play in the evolutionary world, and occasionally supervise her. We, a family of 3, will fight together. Her suggestion was a good one, otherwise if she embarked on the road alone, if something unexpected happened, the mother and daughter would only be worried, which would be unfair to them. From now on, I don't want my little cabbage to leave my sight, lest you go out to have sex with her again. She covered her mouth and laughed softly. Don't worry, you are such a domineering old cow, how dare I do anything random? How dare you mock, sister, let's see if I don't squeeze you out. Whoever is afraid of you, I won't let you go to heaven. What in the world do you think I am, Xuanhuan? Who is this? Famous people in our world can easily go to heaven. In fact, it made sense for Zhang Zizai to take her with him. This 2-month relationship allowed him to understand everything about her. As a legendary figure who rose rapidly in the Chaos Demon realm, and as a traveler from the earth, she actually has something special that others cannot imagine. When she was born here, in the Chaos Demon realm, she could only be regarded as the worst. She was barely an ancient god when she was born, which was already very strong for her in her previous life. And her rise comes from her totem, which is called Eating Fox. Devouring Fox can evolve from the source of evolution that can swallow everything. Even if it has evolved successfully, it can still continue to eat the source of evolution and possess the ability of the source of evolution. There is no such thing as failure in her totem evolution. For example, now, her main combat power also comes from the totem abilities of 5 god-level evolutionary sources. In other words, After she evolves the totem into a god totem for the first time, she can continue to consume the god level evolution source. Although the totem remains at the god level, she can gain the abilities of other god level evolution sources. Now she has hundreds of totem abilities at the god king level. Of course, the most essential ones are the 5 god level totem abilities. And this is not her limit. In theory, she can obtain all evolutionary source abilities. People. This is her own super talent, and it is also her capital to become an immortal. I can accompany you. At least I have a god-level totem power called Eternal Guard. This god's evolutionary source allows me to lean over you, let my power be used by you, and protect you forever. In this way, we can be regarded as one. I also have the power of heaven in the Taisu heavenly god realm, and I am no worse than you now. Equivalent to her 2 heavenly paths and 5 totem abilities, they can all be attached to Zhang Zizai. She has 2 kinds of heaven. The first one is the dream heaven, which controls the changes in dreams between heaven and earth. The second heaven is called the heaven of all living beings, which is more powerful. This is the basis for her ability to use the heavenly intention of all living beings to make the formation, with the power of all living beings. For your own use. Zhang Zizai's current way of destroying heaven is very special. It is definitely not an accident that he can kill the Dragon Emperor. Because his heavenly Dao of destruction was originally at the level of 4 Tai Chi heavenly god realms, and there were so many divine weapons and 4 major bodies. Of course, the one that played the main role at the beginning was the ancestral dragon tower. This was definitely Zhang the most powerful magic weapon at present. So far, he has not understood the ancestral dragon tower. It can only be used to suppress opponents, but he found that this alone is scary enough, because the ancestral dragon tower can almost suppress the opponent's heavenly path, which is equivalent to the opponent fighting him. Almost equivalent to dropping 1 level. It is no longer possible to activate the state of reincarnation in a battle at the level of a god. Both the heart of the true dragon and the forbidden dragon divine appearance have completed their missions. Now the biggest reliance is the god soul strengthened by the ancestral dragon tower and the ancestral dragon tower itself, as well as him. Totem abilities and various heavenly artifacts, of course the most special one is the power to destroy heaven. Regarding the Zilong Pagoda, Zhang Zizai asked Zhang Yi, but Zhang Yi didn't know the origin. He said he had to ask Zhang Junjian to find out. 2 months later, Zhang Zizai took Zhang Yuning and Ruo Xiaoyu to Chaos Demon Realm. He didn't dare to provoke Shen Xiao and Su Yuexi, but the 2 shrewd people directly insisted on Zhang Zizai to take them to the Dragon Sacrifice Realm for a tour, so they had to take them to Chaos Demon Realm. Zhang Zizai was pinched by Juxian for this. This chapter is not over yet, please click on the next page to continue reading. After not seeing each other for many years, Zhang Zizai gave them a lot of luck, and then took Juxian away with him on the pretext of retreat. Shen Xiao and others stayed in Chaos Demon Realm to practice, and Ruo Xiaoyu also stayed in Chaos Demon Realm. Only Zhang Yuning accompanied Lingdang to play in the Evolution Realm. She hadn't seen Lingdang for a long time and didn't know how much she missed her. During this period, what happened here has spread throughout the 49 god realms. Basically, many people saw the whole process at that time through the image symbol. Your reputation now has shaken the world, Zhang Yi said. I have received many messages from the gods these days, all of which are congratulations. As long as I am here, and they think that I, Qingyang Taigu God, have a very close relationship, there will be basically no problem between the Supreme Dragon Clan and Chaos Demon Realm in the future. Even the Chaos Demon Emperor took the initiative to congratulate, which shows their awe. Zhang Zizai is now the most influential person in the 49 god realms, and the person that no one dares to provoke. Yes, thanks to you, the Supreme Dragon Clan dares not mess around. Now Chaos Demon Realm is like being liberated, and everyone lives a happy life, Juxian said. It's still Juer's credit. Hey. Please don't be annoying, uncle and aunt. My little friend is still watching, Zhang Yi said. By the way, why are you still single? Zhang Zizai said. This guy doesn't know how old he is, but he still pretends to be young in front of him. I'm keeping myself clean. Haha. It didn't take long to get from the Void Road to the Taiga Realm, and they were in a good mood, but Zhang Zizai knew that this was the time for him to step onto the battlefield again. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Holy Dragon Totem. Author, Feng Qing Yang. Chapter 1381. The road ahead will not be too early. But this time, Zhang Zizai wanted to know what he really wanted to do. No wonder Zhang Junjian didn't tell him everything until he became a god. That's because his path to becoming a god is very crucial. Only when he uses the flower of destruction to gain the power to destroy the way of heaven can he embark on the road of revenge. It is considered a success, otherwise, there is no possibility of revenge at all. Fortunately, Zhang Zizai succeeded. He knew that his biggest speciality now was the power of destruction created by the flower of destruction. Even now, he was equivalent to the flower of destruction. He was created by his father and brother in this way, taking risks. So he has long wanted to know what happened to his family, the place of origin. Arriving at the ancient realm, the three of them shuttled in and headed to the origin cave in nothingness. Finally, they came to the palace in front of the origin cave. At the door, a familiar person was already standing there. Zhang Yi looked exactly like him. The same, but when they stood together, Zhang Zizai could still tell which one was his brother and which one was his nephew. This is not Zhang Junjian's real body, he is just a shadow, but he already knows the news of Zhang Zizai's success, so now his face is full of hopeful joy. Come in, he waved and then disappeared. When Zhang Zizai and the others entered, he sat cross-legged in front of the crystal coffin, and inside the crystal coffin was his real body. Brother Zhang Zizai pulled Xuanhuan and walked to him, while Zhang Yi stood aside. I heard that my younger siblings can swallow all the sources of evolution. I still have some stocks here. Just give them to my younger siblings as a meeting gift. I haven't given you anything in these years. Zhang Junjian got straight to the point. As he spoke, a space jade pendant appeared in the 9 Immortals. In front of her eyes, facing the existence of Qingyang ancient god, Xuanhuan was still a little restrained. She took the space jade pendant and said quickly, "Thank you, brother. It turns out that you are also embarrassed sometimes." Zhang Zizai smiled. What do you know? You are short-tongued and soft on others. What's inside? The source of evolution of 10 gods. Xuanhuan was checking it out. When she spoke, she was a little confused. This meeting gift was too heavy. Zhang Zizai even trembled. Zhang Junjian was really giving face. The meeting was the evolution of 10 gods. Source. I discovered that being your daughter-in-law is really profitable, Xuanhuan said charmingly. Zhang Junjian also smiled slightly. In fact, it was because Xuanhuan wanted to fight side by side with Zhang Zizai, so that she would be more capable and able to protect herself. At least Zhang Zizai could move forward with more peace of mind. That's almost it. Let me explain to you the causes and consequences of all these things first. Zhang Junjian pondered for a moment, then his expression became solemn and said, this matter even has to start with the birth of the world. Okay, I'll listen. Zhang Zizai was very patient. In the beginning, there was only the place of origin in the universe. The place of origin turned from endless void into the real world. At the core of this real world, a flower of the origin divine flower grew. The flower of the origin of your heavenly artifact is a replica of the divine flower of origin. This is the artifact created by our Father. He is the only person in the world who can create the artifact. Back to the God of Origin flower. The God of Origin flower has a total of 7 petals. On a certain day, 6 of these 7 petals separated and turned into totems, giving birth to the 6 peak races in the place of origin. The peak race is the oldest life. All life in the world today actually originates from the 6 peak races. These 6 peak races have flourished, but the last black petal has been lost in eternity and has never been heard from again. When it sounds like this, I realize how important this flower of origin is. It is actually the origin of life. The 6 peak races are the ancestors of all life, and they are actually transformed from a flower. When the peak race is growing, the scope of the world is also expanding. Immediately after the birth of the 49 divine realms, the origin can go to the 49 divine realms through the origin cave. The creation environment of the 49 divine realms is definitely not as good as the origin, so when the development of the 6 peak races was full, some of the 49 divine realms were eliminated. Of course, this was a long process. After the birth of the totem world, the worst breeds were eliminated to the totem world. That was even more. It's a long story that goes without saying. This story should still revolve around the 6 peak races. Our clan is the ancestor of the Supreme Dragon clan. We are one of the 6 peak races, called the Peak Dragon clan. In the place of origin, due to the competition for resources, the 6 peak races have always had disputes, with rise and fall. But the inheritance has continued, and there have been winners and losers in countless years of disputes, until the birth of our father Xuanhuan. He is the only person in the history of the world who has transcended the realm of the 5th god. The heavy Titan divine realm has reached the realm of the legendary half-ancestor who can trace the origin. He is powerful enough to crush the combined efforts of the leaders of the other 5 peak races. Under his leadership, for millions of years, the peak dragon race became more and more powerful. Those were the most glorious years. I was born in that era. Yes, there are countless strong men of our generation. Until one day, we discovered that our peak dragon race was enough to crush the other 5 peak races. Therefore, we naturally called ourselves the Supreme of Heaven and Earth, the Supreme Race, commanding the universe, and the origin of the world. The land has formed a situation where the Supreme and the 5 peaks are supreme. Even the Supreme Dragon clan that affects the 49 divine realms has become extremely powerful in that era. Even in the totem world, there are countless dragon totems, which have been counted. 1/3 of the billions of totems in the world at that time were dragon totems, and this world has almost become the world of our dragon clan. That era was too far away from Zhang Zizai, so he couldn't imagine it, but it was really exciting to think of such glorious years. He grew from one of the 6 peak races to the Supreme Clan. The peak dragon race at that time had such strength and status, because they are strong enough and powerful enough. As the saying goes, what goes up must come down, and it is estimated that the turning point will be reached next. At the most glorious time, the turning point was that in order to pursue and break away from the realm of the half-ancestor, my father went to pursue the realm of the real master in the legend, and to find the legendary 7th petal, the flower of destruction. Rumor has it that the flower of destruction has the power to destroy everything. The one who controls it can become the true master of this universe and explore the highest realm. That was my father's dream. But after he started looking for it, at a certain moment, he completely lost his whereabouts. No one could find him. From then on, the Peak Dragon clan entered a day of leaderless dragons. This kind of life lasted for 100,000 years, and someone was ready to make a move. The new volume requires a lot of outline planning. It's so late and I can only update 2 chapters. I'll update it as usual tomorrow. Thank you. Holy Dragon Totem. Author, Fengqing Yang. Chapter 1382. The 6 peak races. Besides the peak dragon race, what are the other 5 peak races? Zhang Zizai was a little curious as to what kind of race they were. Like the peak dragon clan, they were born from the petals of the origin god flower. Writing this, I hope readers will remember our domain name Taiwan Novel Network rightward arrow circled M. The Peak Dragon clan has been dominant for too long. When they lose Zhang Yunting for a long enough time, their dominance will inevitably be challenged. Actually, with the flower of the origin of your heavenly artifact, you can probably know about other peak races, such as the Huantian I. The corresponding peak race is the Huantian Dream Clan. The Huantian Dream Clan controls the psychedelic and dreamy way of heaven and can create everything. The illusions can create endless worlds in dreams, and even make people fall deeply into them. The weirdness and mystery of Huantian Dream Clan are very wonderful, and they have been passed down for endless years, and now it is even more difficult to distinguish between true and false. Among them, the heavenly dragon armor corresponds to our Peak Dragon clan. Next is the Broken World Light and Ni Liuhi. In the 49 gods domain, there are direct descendants of these two major clans. Even the two clans in the 49 divine domain are the two major clans. As part of the Peak race, there are also the Time Beast tribe and the Void Beast tribe in the origin. They control the way of time and space. This is the most mysterious power between heaven and earth. Of course, unlike the 49 divine realms, the origin, the Time Beast clan and the Void Beast clan are actually as powerful as fire and water. The power of time and space is mysterious and impermanent. Zhang Zizhe himself is very familiar with it, and he also knows how difficult and terrifying the power of time and space is. The flower of origin was created after the divine flower of origin, so the remaining fountain of youth and soul-taking mirror should also correspond to the corresponding peak races. The fountain of youth corresponds to the creature tribe. To put it simply, they are a plant tribe. Their totems are all flowers, plants, and trees. They are the ancestors of the totems of flowers, plants, and trees in the entire universe. They are a group of gods, and they are also an endless world. Forest, for example, our mother Ruohua, is a member of the Living Yuan clan. The Living Yuan clan used to have a very good relationship with our clan, but after that change, there was basically no contact with them anymore. Now the leader of the Living Yuan clan he should still be our uncle. Xiaoyu's mother is still there. Ruo Xiaoyu's mother was Zhang Zizhe's aunt. Unexpectedly, the aunt really existed, but she was still in the Living Yuan clan, and Ruohua was married to Zhang Yunting. The last clan is the Past Soul clan, corresponding to the soul-capturing mirror. The Past Soul clan also has direct descendants in the 49 god realm, which is the Life and Death Soul clan. The Life and Death Soul beasts here are actually the Past Soul beasts. They all reborn soul beasts are totems that govern death and the soul. Their attainments in the soul are unparalleled in the world. They are a very terrifying nightmare. Of course, they are actually very strong and are our number one enemy. The reason why I am lying here is, they were also severely injured by the incarnate Soul Lord. Most of the gods here were severely injured by the incarnate Soul Lord and ended up hiding here. In this way, Zhang Zizhe had some understanding of the 6 peak races, enemies, and enemies. These 5 peak races should all be the enemies that have caused their family to be so lonely now. Among them, the deceased soul race is the main culprit, and their mother Ruohua's mother clan, the Yuan clan, is actually an accomplice. Just because their father was missing, they joined forces to attack, which led to the current consequences, Zhang Zizhe asked. It's not that simple. In fact, just when they were plotting, or having an idea, our father came back, and he brought back the legendary flower of destruction. It is your current heavenly way of destruction. So, you can have the power to dominate everything and destroy everything. This is the reason why people long for the flower of destruction. Once you have the flower of destruction, you can become the true master of the universe. Controlling the place of origin is equivalent to control the 49 divine realms and countless totem worlds. It's not that simple. Zhang Junjian lowered his voice and said, when my father came back, the 5 peak races completely gave up their thoughts. He did not claim to the outside world that he had obtained the flower of destruction. People only thought that he could not seek it, but his it was still strong enough to maintain the Peak Dragon clan and become the supreme clan. But in fact, when he returned, he did get the flower of destruction, but he was also cursed by the flower of destruction. It was a curse of destruction that was transferred from the flower of destruction to him. His power and everything are being destroyed and disappearing. One day, he will die under the curse of the flower of destruction and disappear into thin air. Only those closest to us know the truth. This is so. Sure enough, the flower of destruction has a poisonous sting, which is enough to destroy a strong man like Zhang Yunting, who has never appeared in ancient times. We also have a second uncle named Zhang Yunhai. He has always been the number 2 figure in the Peak Dragon clan. When my father is away, he is the one who assists me in presiding over the overall situation. The only people who really know the curse of destruction are my mother, me, and no one else knew about him. Just when my parents and I were trying to figure out how to break the curse of destruction, we never expected that at this moment, the news that my father had obtained the flower of destruction but was cursed by it spread throughout the world. The place of origin. Zhang Zizai understood. Why did he do this? Zhang Zizai was talking about Zhang Yunhai. First, he wanted to be the master of the top dragon race. It was too painful for him to live forever under the shadow of my father. Second, he didn't want my father to have time to find a way to break the curse of destruction, so he took the opportunity to kill him. Third, he wanted to get the flower of destruction and become the master of the universe. I trusted him for countless years and never thought that he would have such ambitions and ideas. What's even more painful is that after the incident, he was acting from beginning to end. Even we thought that it might be someone else who knew about the curse of destruction through other means, not him who spread it. We all trusted him too much. Then what? Before we suspected him, he had already joined forces with the 4 top races. The Living Spirits UN clan did not participate, and of course, they did not provide any help. Everyone came for the flower of destruction. He knew that his father did not have much time left, so he not only wanted to get the flower of destruction, but also to gain control of the top dragon clan. My father and I were both thorns in his eyes. When this war started, we did not realize that all this was his doing. He must have acted very well to conceal it to this extent. When the 4 top races came for the flower of destruction and to suppress the top dragon clan, he was still working together inside and outside. He was indeed the one with the greatest hope of getting the flower of destruction. He wanted to use the hands of the 4 top races to get rid of Zhang Junjian and others, and he happened to be in the rear, so he easily got Zhang Yunting's flower of destruction.